Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor. Thanks for checking me out. So today I thought I'd talk a little bit more about what I was talking about the other day because it seems like it's so important. So, there's two different ways of looking at things and manifestations. So one of the things I was talking about is Baphomet when they say, is Mirrors, I believe his name, in the 16th century was saying, "As above, so below," and in when Jesus said the Our Father, he said, "On earth as it is in heaven." So it's definitely two different viewpoints, and I wanted to drill down on that a little bit more because what you have in one instance is you have what you're trying to do is you're trying to change your reality, without doing the self work. And in the other instance, what Jesus is talking about is on earth as it is in heaven. So it's basically what you're doing is trying to be a better person and trying to be better as an individual to everybody else instead of making, reality conform to your will. You're trying to, be a better person and help others. And so there's definitely a different viewpoint within, those two viewpoints are very much antipolar to each other. So a lot of times what you'll see out there in the spiritual community is you'll see, people saying, they're witches, they're this and that, and saying that, this will do this and this will do that. But they're not, really looking at themselves and changing themselves. If you want the world to be a better place, you have to look within and change yourself first. So I think that's certainly a very, very, very important lesson. And I can't stress that enough that, there's two different ways to look at everything, especially too with manifestation. So a lot of people are, talk about, manifestation. I talk about it, and a lot of people are saying, hey, I want to, manifest things. It's okay with doing that, but doing it, correctly. You want to do things from, like I said, from the, bottom up, to do the self work, to really, look at yourself. And a lot of in the, spiritual community talk about shadow work. You don't really need to, think about it like that. A lot of that can be negative because people are just dwelling on, their negativity, and they're, looking at everything instead of, really taking in Jesus into their heart. What they're doing is they're saying, oh, I'm embracing my, shadow self, instead of really going through it and understanding, yeah, you're that way, but, you can be there's a better way, and you could be holy. Everybody's called to be holy. So when people are really, missing the boat a lot with a lot of this, and they're not, doing everything the correct way, when they're, looking at reality and say, hey, how can I manifest this, instead of saying, you know, it's like when you have, a person that's like a Buddha, when a meditation spiritual teacher comes out, a real one, and they ask about psychic phenomena and things like that. They really don't talk about that much. He said, you need to work on your self work more. It's when you do that, we have the in Buddhism they have the the three jewels, and one of the jewels is compassion, and being compassionate and benevolent to others. That's certainly one of the most important things they could do. So when Jesus was alive, to talk about Jesus again, he said, I'm going to go and sit down with the prostitutes and the sinners. I'm going to have dinner with them. And everybody's like, oh, that's who he's hanging out with. Well, that's who he's called to hang out with. It's like if somebody has their act together and somebody's really, has it all together, I'm probably not going to be messaging you that much, and we're not going to be talking because you have your stuff together. You don't need to be around a guy like me. It's, I have, when you go out there and you're from a healing mode, it's like you're a magnet, and then people, come to you anyway. So, a lot of people, if I go out, you could go out in public and you might be a person like this, and you'll go out in the store and people just come up to you and start asking you questions about, where's this and where's that, and you're just walking in for the first time too. And it's the same thing. I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that. It comes to be a little different. For me, a lot of times I'll go out and then people start telling me, all their problems and their life stories and everything like that, because they feel that, healing aura, and they feel that, and they want that healing. They want to talk to somebody who looks like they have their, life together, and they want to, get healed. And what we do is we share the drama because we can't fix it ourselves, and that's something really important. So a lot of times we'll something's bothering us, we'll share it with other people that's bothering us, because we're trying to dissipate that, bad karma. We're trying to, it's that hurt in our aura, that negative, that we're not translating to a higher vibrational state. So we're all, everybody's, what people view as complaining is people are dwelling on that hurt level and they're trying to get past it. So what they're doing is they're complaining. So they're complaining to other people, trying to find that sympathetic response to take that vibration and translate it to a higher frequency. And basically they're trying to, translate it, they're trying to, what's the word I'm searching for? They're trying to make it, transmute it. So they're looking to transmute that instead of, praying and, talking, saying, hey, angels, my higher power, instead of saying, God, can you please, it's probably the best way to say, hey, God, can, this really happened to me and it bothers me. Can you, I just want to say, it bothers me. Can you help me with this? Translate that away, and then that'll be translated for you. But a lot of times what we do is we, complain, and then that negative karma just bounces around in other people's, negative karma, and that just ends up, it seems to dissipate a little bit because we kind of eject it from ourselves, and then somebody else, absorbs that frequency, and it translates up, and it, goes away. But the, a better way would be, instead of, instead of complaining, try to, take that and really take the lesson from it and, move higher in frequency. What I'm saying is that way. So that way is a really powerful, tool for yourself, because a lot of people, look at things and they go, oh, I'm getting a negative rap, I got a negative shake, I got this bad, it's when you think the world owes you something is when, you want to retaliate, and that's not the way it is. Now, I was going to talk about a lot of people are stuck in the two-dimensional mindset. So what they do is they look at their reality and they're saying, this is negative, this is negative. So they're saying, and they're attacking. So there's a lot of people out there that you'll see in the truther community that attack other people and are attacking, let's say, oh, they fixate on one thing, like gun control, and they fixate on this. You'll see that. Or they'll say, vaccines, and they fixate on that, and they have one thing that they fixate on. And then what you'll see is, like really spiritual people, and they aren't on that two-dimensional paradigm where they're stuck in that, you know, that level. So the thing is that the people who are still looking at Pepsi, Coke, Democrat, Republican, you're always looking at a two-dimensional paradigm. They're stuck saying this is bad, pointing fingers, instead of doing the self work and seeing that these are triggers and moving past the triggers. So it's one thing, you know, as a spiritual, you know, teacher and healer, for me to share something, but you know, to do it in a maybe a lighthearted manner a lot of times, or make a joke about it, or try to do it in a certain way, sure, to wake people up a little bit, but not to fixate on that. A lot of people are fixated on that frequency where they're constantly on that, I got to wake people up, you know, and that is a problem, because, you know, there's so many people like that, that get fixated on that and make that like their life's mission. Like, I'm going to wake people up. That's the thing. Well, instead of that, what you should really be doing is working on your self-work, doing the meditation, and thinking about your life and what you did negatively, and making amends for that, and you know, changing yourself in a positive way. And then you could what they call vibrate higher. So we need to really think about that, and how people are just so you know, fixated on these certain things. You know, oh, you're a Trumper, oh, you're a Democrat, oh, you're this. You know, it's, and people focus in on these things because they can, it's outside of themselves. So they see it outside of themselves instead of, you know, doing the self work. So a lot of people out there are always looking at, you know, the things, and they're just sharing, you know, things about, you know, oh, this is bad, or they're talking about it, or they're acting about it, you know, and what that is a problem is because you end up being what you dislike the most, you see. So if you're ending up saying, you know, this is bad, then you're going to end up being bad to counter what's bad, in instead of being good. Do you see what I mean? It's like someone saying, I'm going to, you know, the government's after me, or the government's taking our rights away, so I'm going to blow up things. You know, you can't fight a fire with fire most of the time. You can't do that. Sure, you could do a fire. People argue, you know, they're all two-dimensional to say, well, you could do a fire break and that'll stop a fire. Well, you know, I understand what you know, everybody's in that is a trigger. So when I'm saying, like, that's an example of two-dimensional thinking, is whatever I say, you know, people go to the opposite, you see, instead of taking it holistically in. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because I think that's, you know, certainly another lesson. So there's two lessons so far that I talked about, right? That's two things I think's, you know, important. The third thing, and I was talking about this with my friend, and a lot of my friends are getting COVID right now, so be healed. You know, I had it, and I'm pretty much mended. I'm on the mend. I'm almost 100%. You know, just get tired. But the third thing is, and I forget this all the time, that people have this incessant thoughts, you know, and I totally, it's amazing for me to not even realize that anymore, because I've reached a state of non-thought. And for a lot of you, maybe it's hard to understand or describe, but you know, I'll use myself as an example. For, you know, over 10 years ago, I got to a state, maybe even longer, where I don't, you know, through a lot of spiritual practices, I don't need to have thoughts all the time. I could just sit here and be quiet and not have a thought. And instead of me being controlled by my mind, I can control my mind and get it to work for me. And when you get to that level, then you see what's going on really with everything, because you'll see, thoughts come up and you're going, are these my thoughts? Where are these thoughts coming from? So that could be a fascinating subject, because I don't have thoughts. I could make it so I don't have thoughts. And if the thought occurs, I'm like, well, where's that coming from? And then you get clued in with thoughts and where they're coming from and what's it about. So there's higher levels of dimensional thinking, and then that leads to deeper understanding of how everything works together. So, and that's how you get messages from that's how you pay attention to angels and all these things, is when you understand that if you could get yourself to a point where you're not having thoughts like that. So when you get to that point where so it's that separation. So I always forget that people aren't at that level. So it's that separation. Through a meditation, we practice fixating on one thing for a period of time. And when you do that, you'll train yourself to fixate on one thing. And when you do that for a long period of time, you build up your willpower. You build up your willpower, from fasting, from praying as well, meditation. All these things are positive ways to build up your willpower to get to the point where you're going beyond ego and beyond thought, where there's no thoughts, so you can actually have coherent thoughts and bigger thoughts instead of just little thoughts all the time. So I always forget that that's one of the things I should really be talking about a lot, because I guess I'm one of the people, or only people on the planet that I know of, that can have this ability to not have thoughts. So a lot of people out there are always, thinking, and you can't stop non-stop. So I founded Hamsa Breathing Meditation, and I teach meditation. So I'm going to try to do a meditation maybe tonight online live or something, so people could, meditate with me and, to help out. So if you're ever interested in doing a meditation with me, send me a message and I'll let you know when the next Zoom is, and we could all do it together, which would be cool. I was interested in doing a retreat, and getting people up to the next level, vibrationally. So, and it's not for everybody, and a lot of people say that, I want to do this, I want to do this. If you're, it's okay to not, everybody can't be, the ship, captain. There has to be some crew. There has to be a cook on the crew. There has to be, they're all different jobs for everybody. Everybody's made a little bit differently, right? So you can bring a fifth dimensional consciousness to the world by just being yourself and looking within and being your true self. And then, you're bringing that into your daily life, and other people around you will be affected in a positive way. So everybody doesn't have to be a spiritual teacher and a healer and going out there and doing that. It's for the people who really, really, really feel called to do that, or just want to work out all that negative